So you need to make another tab. So again, 2 lines, and this tab is going to be called adding and subtracting radicals. And you can use an abbreviation because it might not fit if you write the whole thing. So again, tear along those 2 lines and then down the margin to make your tab so it looks like this. Alright, so we're going to take a look at adding and subtracting radicals. You're going to pause the video and copy this down. I'm going to zoom in just a second. So again, pause the video, copy that down. Alright, so let's take a look at an example now that you copied that down. 11 cube root 2 minus 4 cube root of 128. Okay. Alright, it's very important to note that you can only combine like radicals. That means they have the same index, that's the number of cards that make a book, and the same radicat, that means the number inside. So you see how these are different, so you can't combine. But if you simplify them, you can make them exactly the same. So you can break down 2. Let's break down 128. So divide by 2, that's going to be 64. Cut that in half again, that's going to be 32. Cut that in half again, that's going to be 6. That breaks down to 4 and 4, which breaks down to 2, 2, 2, 2. And there are many ways you can get to that exact same answer, as long as you keep breaking it down until you can't break it down anymore. Alright, so let's go ahead and put this in our books. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 2s. Alright, 7 2s. And we're going to take books. We're making books of what? Books of 3. There's nothing else coming out on the first part, so just on this other one, books of 3. So every 3 we're going to take it out. Every 3 we're going to take it out. What does that leave? It leaves a 2 inside. So now you see that they have the exact same radicals. I'm going to simplify that. That's going to be 4 times 4, 16. Alright, you see that the index is the same, so it has a 3 outside, and the radicand is the same, the 2 inside. Now that the same, we can add or subtract them. This is subtraction. So it's like combining variables. Just add or subtract the numbers and keep the radicals. So looking at the number, Trojans meets Tigers, so Tigers win by 5. And then you keep the radical the same, basically. And that's it. So it's just like when you're adding variables, only the radical is like your x. Alright, so let's take a look at another example. So let's say we have negative 9 square root of 108 plus 5 square root of 147 minus 6 square root of 12. Again, you can't combine until they're the same. So let's break it down so we can see if that's going to help. So simplify. So 108 broken down, let me cut it in half, so that's 54. Cut that in half, that's 27, which breaks down 3 times 9, and then 9 breaks down 3 times 3. Alright, so 147, 1 plus 4 is 5, plus 7 is 12, so 3 goes into it. So let's divide and find out how many times. It's going to be 4, 4 times 12, 2 brings to 7, that's 9. So 49 times. And then 49 is 7 times 7. Alright, break 12 down, 3 and 4, and then 2 and 2. Perfect. Now let's just go ahead and put them all in there. When I rewrite them, I like to rewrite them in order. So that's negative 9, and then 108 breaks down to 2 2s and 3 3s, and then plus 5 radical, and then 3 and 2 7s, minus 6 radical, 2 2s and a 3. Alright, now we're taking books. Because it's a square root, it's books of 2. So books of 2 outside, so negative 9 times 2, a 3 outside, and a 3 left inside, plus 5, a book of 7, and 3's left inside, minus a book of 2s, minus 6, a book of 2, and 3's left inside. Alright, negative 9 times 2 is 18, times 3 is negative 54, 5 times 7 is 35, 6 times 2 is 12. Now do you see that the radical is exactly the same? This is a listening check. Put 5x where it says 2x plus 3x equals. Put 5x. So now you just go combine like variables, so the x is the radical. So negative 54, let's combine like terms. Negative and negative more Tigers. That's going to be negative 66 radical 3 plus 35. And then Tigers meets Trojans. Tigers win by 31. And again, the radical 3 is just like an x. Alright, let's take a look at a fraction one. I mean, it's pretty much the same, but let's take a look at a fraction one. So copy the question down, and you follow the same step. Again, you can only combine them if they have the same index and the same radical. Break everything down, so that's 3 times 2, that's 5 times 5. Break the 150 down, I'll do it on the side. 150 breaks into 10 and 15, which breaks into 2 and 5, 3 and 5. Alright. So we're going to replace that with, in order, 2, 3, 5, 5. Break the 36 into 6 times 6, which breaks down 3 times 2, 3 times 2. And I'm just going to put them in order. So it's going to be 2 times 2 times 3 times 3. And we are going to take books out. So what do you see? Take out a book of 5 on the bottom, but the top stays the same. So I'm just going to recombine them. book of 5, and then it's radical 6 on the top, book of 2, book of 3. So that's all we have. Nothing left in the radical. So let's go ahead and simplify that before we add. So radical 6 over 5 plus 5, radical 6 over 6. Now, I don't know if you remember this, but when anytime you add or subtraction fractions, the denominator must be the same. So to add fractions, denominators must be the same. Parentheses, see addition and subtraction of radical expressions. See addition and subtraction of radical expressions. We've done this before. So to make the denominator the same, remember, I make it the same by multiplication, and if I do it to the bottom, I do it to the top. So I'm multiplying top and bottom by the same exact thing. So by 6 and by 5. So that's going to give me 6 radical 6 over 30 plus 25 radical 6 over 30. Now my denominators are the same. Remember, you can just ignore it and put it over one denominator, and now you can just add the numerators. So it's going to be 6 radical 6 plus 25 radical 6 over 30. And again, just like we just learned, adding radicals is like adding variables. The radical is like the x. Put a box around that paragraph that says to add fractions, denominators must be the same. Put a box and color it in. 6 plus 25 is what? 31. And the radical is just like the x, so 31 radical 6 over 30. Can I simplify that? Look top and bottom? No. So I'm done. I will take a look at one more example. Let's say we had square root of 2x squared minus 2 square root of 50x squared minus 5 square root of 50x squared. And again, all we're going to do is you can only combine them if the radicals look exactly the same. So we're going to simplify to see if they look the same. So we're going to break down everything we can. So let's break down x squared in that first one to x times x. Break down 50 to 2 times 25, which 5 times 5, and then breaks down 2 x's. 50 again, 2 times 25, which breaks down to 5 times 5, and 2 x's. Alright, let's take out books. This time I'm just going to take it out instead of rewriting it. So I'm going to take it out as I go. So there's a book out. So it's going to have x, and then inside is left just the 2. Minus 2, a book of 5, book of x, and then inside is going to just be the radical 2. Minus 5, a book of 5s, a book of x, and inside just radical 2. So now you see all my radicals exactly the same. The index is the same. Everything's the same. I'm just going to combine the outsides to make it look neater. So 2 times 5 and then 5 times 5. Alright, because the index and the radical are exactly the same, I can just add the numbers and keep the radical. So let's combine like times. Negative, negative, more negatives. 35. Then bring that down, and Tigers are going to win by 34. And then keep the radical. Last listening check. Color the D in the title radical. Color the D in the title radical.